We're coming back here on Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos. Make sure you follow us at Sports Talk Chi wherever you enjoy your socials, whether it's Instagram or whether it's on X, formerly known as Twitter. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe below. I want to give a quick shout out to my fantastic producer, John Meadows. Been doing such a great job cutting up the clips, helping us out with our wins and losses coming out of the weekend. Make sure you check those out where I recap Chicago Sports Weekend and let you know who won, who lost, what was good, what I liked, what I didn't like. He's doing such a great job, so I want to thank him so much. I also want to thank John Zagul for his continued support as I sub in for him here on Sports Talk Chicago. We just covered the Chicago Bears here, summer dreams and what ifs. Let's go over to the baseball diamond, where summer dreams, I don't know if I can really conjure up a dream right now. It's been a little bit more like a nightmare at this point. But I want to talk a little bit about some what ifs. Let's start with the Chicago Cubs. I'm going to do both sides of the coin here with the Chicago Cubs because that's where they are right now. They're still in last place. As of this taping right now, I'm taping it on a Wednesday afternoon. They beat the Baltimore Orioles last night 9-2. So, look, they got 2 more against them. They got 4 against the Cardinals and then the All-Star break. If you're telling me the next 6 games they go 4-2, 5-1 even, you got a little bit of that momentum back. Maybe you get yourself in striking range of getting back into this race. I don't know if they can get back into the divisional race, but with three wild cards right now, you can certainly get back into those final 2 spots. So let's start on the negative side. What if the Chicago Cubs sold at the deadline? Didn't see this one coming when the season started. Now, I wasn't as bullish on this Cubs team as other people were. I didn't project them to win 90 games. I think I had them at 84 to start the season, which is probably 1 game better than they were last year. I just wasn't convinced that this team was deep enough. And again, I talk about it all the time. The team doesn't have the star power to carry you through a 162 game season when things get a little funky every once in a while. These guys go into slumps and you need someone to carry you for 5, 6, 7 days in a row. They simply just don't have that guy. They've clearly played worse than I thought they were going to. The defense has been atrocious. The bullpen has been worse. And the lineup, as of probably a week or 2 ago, was in the bottom of the National League in many, many, many categories. So they find themselves in last place. It's a bunched up National League, so they can get back into it in the wild card sense very quickly. If they have a strong week against the Orioles and the Cardinals, you can talk yourself into it. But we're at the point right now where the Chicago Cubs probably need to consider whether they should sell at the deadline. And you're asking, who could that possibly be? If the Chicago Cubs were to sell at the deadline, the number one person that cannot be on the team August 1st, if they went that route, is Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon, they signed him to a 4-year deal. The first year last year, he was hurt. He was ineffective. He was terrible. It was a wasted year. When you sign these contracts, people, like let's take the Dansby Swanson, or even stick with the Jameson Taillon for a second before I lose my mind on Dansby. So when you sign someone to a 4-year deal, what are you really kind of expecting out of the player? For me personally, when someone signs a 4-year deal, if you give me 2.5 strong, solid, productive seasons out of that 4-year deal, I can live with that. The chances of someone being great every single year, John Lester is a small example of a guy that I think delivered every single season of his contract. It's hard to do. There is going to be a down year in there, and you're just kind of hoping that the better years outweigh the poor ones. So Jameson Taillon's got 1 bad year under his belt. He's got 1.5 year really good year under his belt right now. If you were to say that the Chicago Cubs were to sell, he's got to be the number 1 guy. One, his value is probably not going to get any better or higher than it is right now. His age, he's in his early 30s, but he's not going to get any younger, obvious. This stuff looks pretty good right now, and for a team that they're playing right now, the Baltimore Orioles, he's a great pickup. Dude's very familiar with the AL East. He's pitched there for a long time. He was with the Yankees. He knows the scene over there. He would be the number 1 guy that I would have to trade from the Chicago Cubs. The other reasoning that goes into that too as well, when you're looking about trying to get money off of your books. Now, I'm not a guy, to be very fair, I am not the guy who says trade somebody, trade the veterans because I want the prospects. I'm not that dude. Prospects are just that. We don't know if they're going to come up. We don't know if they're going to deliver. I think it's a lazy, casual thing to say. Just give me a bunch of kids and let's see what happens. Call me in 5 years. I'm the type of guy that likes to win every single season. I'm the type of guy that thinks that you should probably only try and break in on offense, maybe one, maybe two young players a year. If you're trying to break in more young guys on your roster than that offensively, you're probably going to have some growing pains. Pitching-wise, you can get away with a little bit more, whether it's the rotation or the bullpen, but maybe in the 3.5, 4 range. The rest of those guys need to be established players that are ready to win consistently at the major league level. If you're not doing that, then I don't think you're serious about winning. That's kind of where I land on that one. In terms of Jameson Taillon, trading him now, I would do it because when you're looking at the free agent class, and I know it's July, but I do this all the time, who's available next year? How can the Chicago Cubs get better by simply opening the checkbook and signing somebody that is proven to come in and make your team better? The starting pitching class, I'm just going to give you some of the highlights, some of the top-end guys, but there's dudes like Shane Bieber, Walker Buehler you could probably get on a really great deal. Corbin Burns is going to be out there, folks. We'll see. He's going to cost a ton of money, but he'll be out there. Nathan Eovaldi, he's made some all-star teams. Jack Flaherty, who's on the market right now, he will be a free agent, only 29 years old. So look, if you wanted to sell, I would try and get out of Taillon's money now because you could basically reinvest that money into somebody younger and start that 4-year contract clock again with somebody else. Jameson Taillon, what I'm trying to say, is basically a running back in Major League Baseball. I think he's a type of guy that can be interchangeable. I don't think he's an untradeable, and I think he's had a really great season, and good for him for bouncing back. But that's probably the first guy that I would do. A lot of rumors about Cody Bellinger right now. Yankees scouts going to Cubs games. Would the Cubs trade Cody Bellinger to the Yankees? Here's what I'll say on that. And I want to be very clear on this. I think Cody Bellinger is a very solid baseball player. And when I say baseball player, I mean, I personally love that he shortens his swing with 2 strikes. I love that he's willing to kind of hit the ball the other way with 2 strikes to just get on base, slow his swing down just to get the ball out there and pick up some extra singles. I think he's a strong defender. I think he's an excellent first baseman. He's a good center fielder, but he kind of bothers me that he's out there because I does think that he gets hurt. He's a good base runner. I think he's a good dude. Unfortunately, he's just having a inept offensive season if you want to talk about power, because that's what the Chicago Cubs need right now. He's our best power hitter, and he's still sitting on, I believe, 9 home runs as of this taping on Wednesday. This was right around the time last year when Cody Bellinger got hot, the Chicago Cubs got hot, and next thing you know, we were talking playoffs instead of talking about a transition year. Can he do it again this year? I don't know. We'll see about that. The issue with Cody Bellinger is, for me, is that let's just say he stays where he's at right now, and he finishes the year with 17 or 18 home runs, maybe drives in 70 runs. Nothing to be mad about, but nothing to really be excited about, especially if he's the guy who's been your 3 or 4 hitter all season long. He's going to opt back into that $30 million deal. I would. I don't see a scenario right now unless Cody Bellinger goes on such a tear and racks up 24, 25 home runs in the second half of the season, which, trust me, people, that would be a tear, that he would even think for 2 seconds about opting out of the deal that he has with the Chicago Cubs right now and re-entering the open market. I just don't see it happening. And honestly, the free agent class next year is not great, especially at the outfielder position. But this is locked-in money for Cody Bellinger. So as of right now, I think he's coming back no matter what happens. He would opt back in. So I think that probably leans on the Cubs a little bit in terms of their decision-making of whether we should move on from Cody Bellinger now. Are the Chicago Cubs going to win a World Series without Cody Bellinger? No. Are they going to win a World Series with Cody Bellinger? That's the question. And I think that's the question that Jed has to ask himself. I would even go as far as to say, when we're talking about Cody Bellinger and Jameson Taillon, that if they traded both of those guys tomorrow, there's still a world where the Chicago Cubs could get back into a situation where they could still compete for a wild card. Those are two players. Look, Taillon's been extremely productive. Bellinger a little bit less so, but still been a solid player. I still think that they can somehow get back in the race. And if that is the case, then maybe that is something that Jed needs to really consider. So there is a world where the Chicago Cubs could sell at the deadline and still possibly compete for a third wild card. It makes it more unlikely, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't completely wipe it off the table. Now let's go to the other side. What if the Chicago Cubs got back in the race? And how would it happen? Well, the good news is, Cubs fans, is that we're already seeing some of the ingredients, some of the elements that the Chicago Cubs would need to get back into the wild card race. We're already starting to see it happen. Case in point one. Good on you, Ian Happ. You've been an all-star. Good for you. You're not a perennial all-star. You're not a superstar. They've never even thought about tinkering with him in the middle of the lineup. They kind of like him now. Well, I guess they a little bit at the 5 spot, but he's mostly a 5-6 hitter. But good for Ian Happ, just being the solid baseball player that he is, and still kind of, again, justifying the signing of his contract. Again, a guy that signed a deal so far, more good years than bad so far in the course of his deal. So far, good on Jed. Good for you on that one. He's got over 50 RBIs. He has been white hot lately. He hit his 14th home run last night. As we're taping this on a Wednesday against the Orioles, he hit a 14th home run of the year on Tuesday. And the guy just comes to work every day, and he puts in a solid effort. And we need guys in the offensive lineup to at least start doing that. Last year, I was dubious of their offensive lineup, but you know what? They created a village, and it was a chain reaction. Guys getting hits, guys running the bases, guys stealing bases. They're finally stealing bases again. Thank God. Craig Counsell finally took the shackles off of some of these guys. And now you at least see Nico Horner stealing some bases. But that's what it took last year, was that up and down the lineup, dudes coming up with big hits. Ian Happ showing up the last couple of weeks is hopefully a breadcrumb for this offense to start to turn it around. You've seen Seiya come back to baseline a little bit. He's not crazy hot, but he got a couple of hits the other night. I think Seiya's doing fine. And Michael Busch, to his credit, has rebounded from a really rough 6-week stretch after hitting home runs in 6 games in a row. He's rebounded, and he's putting together himself quietly a really nice season all of a sudden. If I could be kind of critical of Michael Busch, which I will because baseball is my favorite sport, Michael Busch's numbers scream a little more second base than maybe first base. Like a question we'll get to another day, but in the offseason, I know Michael Busch has had experience at second base and third base. Would you tinker with moving Michael Busch to second base, Nico Horner to third, and then it opens up first base to possibly go out and make a play for a guy like a Pete Alonso? Make a play even on a short term. 37-year-old Paul Goldschmidt, not so much. 34-year-old Christian Walker, dude's having an incredible season. He's going to end up with at least over 30 home runs, maybe even 35. Dude's done it year in and year out quietly for the Arizona Diamondbacks. You'd have to be careful with the money and the years on that one, but if you want to go short term, because that's what the Chicago Cubs do, right, is when we talk about how we want Pete Alonso, let's be honest, the Chicago Cubs fans, we should really be talking about Christian Walker, because the Chicago Cubs are not going to go top tier, top shelf. It just isn't going to happen, right? So maybe Christian Walker's the move. But good for Michael Busch. He's been playing really well ever since they moved him to the 2 spot. Keep him there. Keep him there. OBP over 360. He's got his slugging percentage up. I think he's got the best OPS on the team, so good for him. We need guys on this team to start step up and carrying the load a little bit. So Michael Busch and Ian Happ, those are the first 2 crumbs, the first 2 signals of signs of possibly this Chicago Cubs team turning it around and getting back into the race. Another one, look, mystery box, but it is good news. The bullpen isn't taking shape, but reinforcements are on the way. And I am very curious to see how they are deployed and how they can help. Now, Julian Merriweather, if he can get healthy, that would be huge. They need some coverage in that 6th, 7th inning so they can start getting matchup based in the later innings. And they can start, hopefully, either exchanging him with Hector Neris, who I think needs to be probably a 7th inning guy at this point, but creating a little bit more of a bridge to the back part of the bullpen, which I'll get to in a second. Jordan Wicks getting healthy would be huge. Javier Assad, Albert Alzolay, I got to be honest with you, I can't even think about them right now because I don't know if they're coming back. Alzolay, I don't have a lot of hope that he's going to come back. And Assad, you got to be really careful with him. And even when you do, you have to rehab start him. And I think that's more of an August thing, not a right now thing. And let's be real with ourselves. Javier Assad in August doesn't do us any favors because the trade deadline's coming up. Are they buyers or sellers? Who knows? So I can't think about him right now. But they've brought up a couple of guys. You know, Porter Hodge has given us a couple of strong outings. And there's Hunter Biggie kid. Can I do it? Should I do it? He's only had one appearance. Does he have any Bobby Jenks in him? I'm not calling it now. I'm more like wishful thinking. Can Hunter Biggie become a Bobby Jenks type for a Cubs bullpen that has just been awful? Awful all season long. Can he inject a little bit of some life? I like the 100-mile-an-hour fastball last night, striking out a Baltimore Oriole for his first ever major league strikeout. Bring him along slowly, throw him into the fire. I don't care. We need to see more of that. We need to see some velocity out of this bullpen. He brings it. Keep running him out and cross your fingers. Come on, kid. Help us out. Become the new Bobby Jenks. Biggie, come on. It's begging to have a burger made for you. Just keep throwing strikes, buddy. Keep pumping heat, and I'm rooting for you. There are some pieces there where the Chicago Cubs can get back into this a little bit. Nico Horner's been hitting a little bit better. As I mentioned, Michael Busch. As I mentioned, Ian Happ. Sea's been fine. The two guys really that probably need to turn it on is the aforementioned Cody Bellinger, who may or may not be traded by July 31st. And guys, look, I get it. Batting averages across the Major League Baseball are down. I think the Major League average for batting average right now is 242. 242. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at other people's batting average. You know, Nico Horner's hitting 245. He's basically league average. You know what I mean? So I get it, Dansby. The 201 is maybe 10, 15 points off of where you finished, you know, where you should be. I think he finished in the low 220s last year. But guys, Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, these are dudes with World Series rings. These are dudes that when you print in the program that they're playoff tested, that they're veterans, that these are the stalwarts in your lineup. Guys, we need you to start hitting. Dansby, I'm telling you, man, I always categorize you as streaky, but this is a cold stretch. I mean, this is like Ghostbusters 2 Frozen Empire, man. You got to heat up just a little bit. I don't know what you got to do. I've mentioned it a lot. You're tinkering with your swing. You're not barreling it up. You're grounding balls into the dirt left and right. It doesn't look good, man. We need you to turn it around. Be the gamer. Be the leader that you profess yourself to be. You're the type of guy that calls Jed Hoyer, and you're the assistant general manager, and you're giving him tips on who to trade, who to not trade. Keep us together. Let's win. Let's win. All right. You have to produce on the field, man. Come on. We really need you. The crumbs are there. But again, I am going to maintain that even if the Chicago Cubs have a great week this week and they head into the All-Star break, look, they can't do much. They're not going to be over 500 by the All-Star break. So hopefully maybe they're 3 or 4 games under 500 and you start to wrap your head about something that moves it forward. You still need probably 2, I'm going to say 15 to 20 days of consistent winning baseball from the Chicago's Cubs team for me to actually start really believing in them. And here's to hoping that they have their best baseball left.